All right, guys. So I'm about to react to the Synthetic Man's full Fallout review. As you can see here, it's titled "Amazon's Fallout Gave Me Brain Damage." Actually, I don't think you can see that. This is the title here. I've never seen this before. I've never gotten a warning like this. This video may be inappropriate for some users. What am I about to fucking? What am I about to put myself into here? What the? Okay, the last video is one of the most unhinged things I've ever seen in my life, right? His like first reaction video to the show because he only watched the first episode. I'm scared.
As promised.
Oh my god. I don't know what I'm about to witness here. This is gonna be something. There's gonna be something, I tell you. You guys are witnessing me create the outline in real time.
I'm back to review the rest of Season 1 of the critically acclaimed Fallout TV show. I'm sure the question on some people's minds is, well, does it get better? Believe it or not, kind of, a little bit.
Aw, that's cute. Oh, he liked some of it. That's nice.
Sense that you can turn your brain off, and if you don't care about the Fallout franchise, which is the case for most of the people who like this show, then you could just consume this mediocre slop.
It is impossible. It's impossible to just like have a different opinion, right? Like it's actually not possible for like somebody to just have a different experience with art than you, right? That's just not even possible. That doesn't compute in my brain. It's not a thing.
And not really think much of it. This is about as superficial as an adaptation can possibly be. It has a bunch of visual references, and that's really all it takes to get normies on board with your show. You can absolutely take a massive dump on the lore, especially of the original games.
What are you wait. He says the people that like it are people that don't care about the games. But references are gonna get them to like it. How do you not realize that you're contradicting yourself like that explicitly in that short period of a time? Didn't you write a script? Like, didn't you read over the script before you did this, or is this all just like recorded in one go? That might be an explanation for like the brainworms that I'm like witnessing right now.
New Vegas. That's fine because most Fallout fans, if you can even call them fans, have only played Fallout 4, and so they don't care about the universe. They don't care about the characters. They don't.
Is that true? Didn't like these games get massive when Fallout 3 came out? I mean, maybe. I don't know.
Even care about the theme. They don't even know what the theme is. People think it's about capitalism. The games literally tell you in the intro cutscene and the epilogue, war never changes. And yet somehow now it's about capitalism bad. But I'm getting a little ahead of myself.
I mean, you know what? I will agree with that, actually. I thought, I don't really care about the games, right? I've never played them. I started playing Fallout 3 a couple of days ago, so I'm enjoying it so far. We'll see where if I get through them. But anyways, even without playing the games, the whole capitalism thing that they shoehorn at the end is just kind of weird. Like, because like the whole thing about the I guess I'm gonna spoil Fallout because I mean he's probably gonna spoil it. So like the whole thing about the games. Or not the games, the show, is that there was like this big shady corporation that decided to like unleash the nukes on the world in order to like accelerate the fallout, like the nuclear fallout, so that people would like buy their fallout shelters. And the show does try to like do this whole like, oh, they're greedy capitalists and whatnot, but it's like it just falls flat because it's like at that point we're not talking about capitalism. It's like this is like, I mean, listen, I'm not a fucking I'm not a political expert, okay? But like, at least from what I can gather, we're not really talking about like fascism or not. We're not talking about capitalism anymore. We're talking about some kind of weird like fascism or authoritarianism where like you're trying to take control of society. Because capitalism and just trying to make a bunch of money in devious ways, that doesn't carry on like once you're destroying society. You know what I mean? Unless I just don't really understand like what with the point that they were trying to make. But once we're talking about like a post-apocalyptic scenario and we're saying that there were people controlling the levers, like manifesting the apocalyptic scenario, I just feel like we're moving past capitalism at that point. So honestly, I might actually end up agreeing with the synthetic man here on that point. Probably going to be the only point.
As some of you may have noticed, my last video got absolutely brigaded, more than maybe I've ever seen before, by Redditors, Discord groomers, outrage merchants on Twitter.
Bro, this guy like a sociopath where it's like it can't possibly be the case that people came across your video like I did. Nobody directed me anywhere. It can't possibly be the case that somebody just like watched your video and realized that, oh, you're fucking unhinged. That can't possibly be the case.
Twitter, the list goes on. That was probably the least organic my comment section has ever looked, ever. But if you've been watching this channel for a long time, you might be thinking, well, that's nothing too out of the ordinary. That's happened a bunch of times to this channel. Well, even reading these comments, I knew something fishy was going on. The first thing I noticed is that there were a lot of suspiciously similar comments copy-pasted in the reply chains of all the top comments.
So I mean, I don't know. Maybe he's about to show a video clip of somebody being like, "Go over to the Synthetic Man's channel or something and leave him a comment." I don't know.
Comments in my video, and they would only ever address the same few points, whether it's the show breaking the lore or Shady Sands falling and then the nuke happening after it fell, and we'll address that later in this video. But none of those comments addressed anything I actually said in the video itself. I think the only comments talking about the video itself were people triggered about my comments regarding interracial couples, which is funny because I didn't even give my opinion on interracial couples. I just brought up statistics and pointed out how it's propaganda that they appear in all modern media. But I
what? What are you talking about? That is like a thing that you said about racial couples that was weird because it has fuck all to do with the story, because like the statistics, like it's not even relevant. Like, first of all, it's not even relevant at all in any way, shape, or form to this because it's a fictional alternate universe. Like it's not our Earth, so that your statistics have literally nothing to do with anything. Second of all, one example of an interracial couple in a piece of media is not like it's not like saying something about all interracial couples or like the amount of interracial couples that there are in the world. Like that just doesn't make any sense. Like what we witnessed in Fallout was Walton Goggins and his wife, one interracial couple. Like how is that saying anything about the amount of interracial couples that there would be in the world? We're just looking at this one example. It's just such a stupid point that has nothing to do with anything.
I guess with Redditors being proud cuckolds, literally, they feel the need to defend Tyrone's honor as he plows their wife every night. The funniest...
The genders... What are you talking about? I don't even, like... What does cuckoldry have to do with anything here? Does he, like... I guess, does he feel some kind of ownership over white women or something? Is that where that comes from? Is that just like some deep rooted like like insecurity over seeing like white women get like have sex with people with black guys is I don't even I have no idea what this guy is. I have no idea where that even comes from.
One to me is there would always be a comment claiming this show doesn't break the lore. Not explaining how it doesn't, just saying that it doesn't. You know, all the nitpicks aside, I would say the biggest retcon of all is Shady Sands teleporting 200 miles across California into the heart of LA. The Boneyard doesn't even exist in this show. No, Shady Sands is...
Yeah, I mean, I have no idea if this is true or not. I mean, maybe it does break the lore. I mean, that's entirely possible. I don't know.
Is now in LA, which was not the case in Fallout 1. But to claim that it doesn't break the lore when you don't even know what the lore is, that's a fucking bot, dude. The second thing I noticed is that video has way more comments than almost any video in the entire history of my channel. At the time of recording this, the video is just under 2.
What is this cope? It's like, yeah, because it was really stupid. What do you... Yeah, a bunch of people saw a stupid video and they were like, hey, this is stupid. What I'm so curious, like, what is the conspiracy that he's about to conjure up?
200,000 views and has 14,000
oh
comments.
my gosh.
For comparison,
wow.
My Starfield video, which has 680,000, has 12,000 comments. And I'm sure some delusional person is going to say, well, it's just people arguing with each other. But these are my videos we're talking about. People are debating each other in the comments basically every time I give a negative take on a mod.
You want to know why? You want a really good explanation? People generally don't like Starfield, but people did enjoy Fallout. When somebody agrees with something, they're probably not going to comment on it. Right? Like this channel is a perfect example of that. Like I'm usually not reacting to like videos that I think I'm going to agree with, because it's like, what, that would be a boring reaction. The whole point of this is to, like, you know, comment on something that I disagree with, to hopefully have an interesting conversation. But it's like, yeah, like most people didn't really like Starfield, so they probably just didn't have much to disagree with you about. Like, Fallout is pretty universally beloved. The show, I should say. So it's like, yeah, people are gonna like hear you complain about race mixing or whatever, and they're gonna be like, bro, what the fuck are you talking about? So what? This is so obvious. What? It's so stupid.
Modern game. No, these are bots, actual AI chat bots that are being rolled out into YouTube comment sections. And so, suspecting these were bots, I wrote a pinned comment. And of course I was inflammatory, but this is me we're talking about, so that's...
Wow, the Reddit bot comments are absolutely pathetic. Can you even refute a single point in the video, or will you continue to cry about my political beliefs? Oh wait, that would require you to watch the video. I have a few questions for you shills. If Shady Sands fell in 2277, why didn't a single NCR member mention it in 2281 New Vegas? If you think the show isn't woke, what is your definition of woke? Why do you care if other people like/hate the show? Millions of people buy COD each year, yet we all know it sucks. Normies, you liking the show doesn't make it good. I thought leftists hated corporations, and here you are licking Bethesda's boots. If your reply to this post doesn't answer any of these three questions, you will be blocked on this channel. Feel free to cry about it in your groomer Discord. If Shady Sands fell... Okay, let me see if I can answer these questions. If Shady Sands fell in 2277, why didn't a single NCR member mention it in 2281? I don't know. I mean... let me see. I don't know what the context of, like, New Vegas was. Oh my god, dude. I watched a show, like a month ago, and I have a bad memory. Although the show doesn't matter because it takes place like way after. I mean, I don't know that that could be a good question. But it's one of those things where it's like when you're writing a story, and you're trying to like flesh out history, it's like, I mean, like, is this really like something that writers should be worried about, or like writers should be like autistically focused on? And this is a genuine question. Like should you really not do something that's compelling and that will make your story better because you're thinking in your mind like, oh, but in this other game nobody talks about this thing that I want to do now, so I'm not going to put it in. It's like, I don't know that that's really a good enough reason to not do it or to call this show bad, because it's like you can't just like, well, I mean with video games I guess you can, but you really shouldn't. Like you shouldn't just like be able to just patch like an older game with like new information that you came up with after. So I don't know. I don't think that's that really that big of a deal. Like it's like, I don't know, like somebody being in like nobody mentioning something that happened years ago. I don't think that that's that big of a deal. But it might feel weird. You know, it might be like somebody growing up in the United States but never learning about 9/11, I guess. But also, like, what is the context of New Vegas? Like, are you somebody that's always lived in New Vegas, or are you somebody that's like going into New Vegas for the first time? Because that would actually be another good question. Like, are like in New Vegas, are you just like somebody going to that place for the first time, and maybe it would make sense that nobody mentioned Shady Sands or whatever? I don't know. Maybe that's an interesting point that he's brought up. Okay, number 2. If you think the show isn't woke, what is your definition of woke? I mean, I would say, I guess, honestly, I have no idea what people's definition of woke. I guess, like, I've always thought that woke was like, I've always thought that woke was just like something with progressive values. So it's like, I guess the show is woke, like, but like, I don't even, that's the thing though, like, I feel like people being like interracial marriages, and like one of the, I guess like one of the characters is like trans, is like vaguely trans, because it's like there's like Maximus's friend with the buzz cut. They never really mention whether or not she's trans or not. Because I'll be honest, oh Jesus, he scared me. When I was watching the show, I thought that character was I thought she was just a girl, and that like the Brotherhood of Steel were just like a group of people that, you know, girls and guys just kind of like, they were kind of treated the same. That's kind of what I thought it was woke in that way. But apparently this guy says that that character is a transgender. But it is more ambiguous than anything, and like I don't think it's something that people are like, I don't think it's something that the show really talks about much, so I don't think it should be really like a big point of contention. But yeah, as far as like whether or not it's woke, like actually, now that I'm really thinking about it, I don't know that it is, because I don't like interracial marriage stuff. That stuff is just normal in society. I don't think that that's woke. Like the whole transgender girl, maybe she's transgender, maybe she is just a girl with a short haircut. I feel like since the show doesn't really like make a big deal out of any of it, I don't know that I would consider it woke. If you talk about capitalism, does that make you woke? I guess that would make it woke, right? If it's like anti-capitalist. You know what? I'll give it to him. I'll say it's woke. I don't know. But that's the thing. I feel like nobody has like a clear-cut definition of woke, or at least there's not a clear-cut definition of woke that everybody like adheres to. So it's just like it's one of those words that's just pointless, and that doesn't like, I don't even know if it's worth like, if it's worth fighting over. Like if somebody says that a show is woke, like I'm just like, okay, it's woke, and what? Like what about it? Is it bad or is it good? Is it well written? Is it not well written? Are the performances good or bad? Like I don't even really care to like argue over whether or not something is woke at this point. Why do you care if other people like/hate the show? I mean, I don't know that I necessarily care if other people like or hate the show, But if somebody has really dumb reasons for disliking it, then I mean, people are going to laugh at it. So millions of people buy Call of Duty each year, yet we all know it sucks. Normies, you liking the show doesn't make it good. What do you, I mean, like, what is even that sentence? It's like something being good or bad is a subjective thing. Like, what are you talking about? It's like nothing is objectively good or bad. So them liking it makes it good in their eyes. Like, I don't even, like, what even is that sentence? I thought leftists hated corporations, yet here you are licking Bethesda's boots. I mean, technically they're licking Amazon's boots. So, I mean, that is a fair, that is, if you're arguing with like socialists or whatever that are like, that are soying out over the show over like the anti-capitalist messaging. I mean, you could just bring up that it's made by Amazon. And I guess that would be an own of some kind. But I don't know, like, yeah. Like, at the end of the day, like, I feel like the thing that most people were just making fun of him for is just, like, the unhinged takes. And, like, him just getting really mad about, like, interracial marriages and stuff. And just like, the bizarre, like white supremacist stuff. Like, that's what people are laughing you about. Like, that's what people were laughing at you for, bro. So, like, this, like, little thing isn't gonna, like, change anything or, I don't know what he thinks he's accomplishing by doing this.
That's besides the point, but in the comment, I said if you do not reply to one of these 3 questions posted, I will block you from this channel.
Ooh.
And the whole point of that was to prove that you are not an AI chatbot. And what do you think happened? Well over 50 comments did not address.
What are you talking about? Bro, he thinks that, yes, everybody wants to be able to comment in the synthetic man's comment section. They would never want to lose any of these privileges, for this will snuff them right out to the bots. It's like, no, it's absolutely plausible that the people read your little questionnaire and they were like, I don't care about you. I'm going to, like, shit talk you in the comments. That's entirely possible. Like, what are you talking about?
Any of the 3 questions in the post. And yes, some of these were just retarded Zoomers or millennial Redditors who are trying to throw a gotcha in. But no, there were quite a few that are just straight up fucking chatbot responses that don't address anything. In the post. My story has been corroborated by V,
wow.
Not the board, but the Romanian who's Sargon's buddy, you might remember from back in the day. He also confirmed he was debating with bots on Twitter. You can check out the Archcast video reviewing the show. Their comments are full of...
I suppose Arch is lying, yes, because I actually watched the whole show and can confirm everything you said is false. Cat, is that a bot?
Bots. One thing I absolutely can't blame on bots, however, is the sheer number of people claiming I didn't pay attention to the first episode because I got a bunch of plot points wrong. Every single point I got wrong is because I only watched the first episode, which I stated in the last video. Yes, the show has this thing called plot twists. Did you want me to read a Cliff's Notes of every episode plot before I made the review? Are people not allowed to review just the first episode of a show? Look, I know a lot of the noticers in my audience are not the least bit shocked by this and probably don't really care that much, but this is fucking huge. AstroTurfing has gotten completely out of control at this point. I've seen plenty of paid marketers on other...
Bro, this is stupid. You just made an unhinged video. Like, I don't know what to say.
Websites, especially on Reddit and 4chan. But if now YouTube comments are just going to be flooded with bots, there's going to be no real discussion anymore.
Oh my
It'll
gosh.
be so easy to create the illusion of a majority opinion. And speaking of which, there were many bot comments that basically said something along the lines of, how does it feel to be in the minority opinion? If 99.9% of people think 2 + 2 = 5, does that mean they're right? No, it doesn't, you fucking idiots. Call of Duty sells like 20 million copies a year, and we all know it's trash. I don't care if everyone likes the Fallout show. It's still garbage.
Wow.
So yeah, sorry if that was a little long, but I had
How
to
brave.
get this out of the way first, just so that my viewers know that there's a very good chance you'll be debating with either bots or Redditors in bad faith who just hate me because I have controversial political.
Guys, you might have to argue with bad faith people. Anyways, anybody disagreeing in the comments, they're probably just like bots. You know what I mean? Can't just be people genuinely disagreeing with me. They're most likely just bots. Does he even like listen to what he says? Like, does he actually like not? Does he just not pay attention to anything that he says before he says it? Like, what am I listening to?
Opinions. There's nothing a Redditor hates more than people who can think for themselves. Alright, since I have to cover 7 episodes in
Gosh, you know, people hate people that can't think for themselves. Anyways, guys, don't worry. People disagreeing with us, they're probably just bots.
one video, I'm going to heavily condense the plot synopsis for each episode and give my thoughts on the major details. I don't really have time to nitpick everything, or this video will be over an hour long, and I'm not going to make this over an hour long, I promise you. So feel free to point out other things you hated about the show. I'm sure there'll be plenty.
Okay, he did his job. It's only 59 minutes.
I don't hit in this video. Without further ado, here's the rest of Fallout Season 1. Starting off with Episode 2, we have easily the worst episode of the show. It starts off where we see an Enclave research facility, I guess, and the one not evil Enclave scientist who spares a German Shepherd from incineration and takes it as his own. For some reason that is never explained, by the way, he gets access to this.
Wait, what? Wait, hold on. Maybe I misheard him? He needs an explanation as to why he took pity over a dog?
Spares a German Shepherd from incineration and takes it as his own. For some reason that is never explained, by the way.
Why does that need to be explained? What? What? Okay, maybe that's a thing about these people in the games. Are they just like non-empathetic? Is that supposed to be a thing? What?
He gets access to this extremely important artifact that is the MacGuffin that drives the entire plot of the show. And in fact, after this scene, the Enclave never shows up again in the show. Long story short, he has to escape from the facility. An auto turret shoots at him and misses every fucking shot as he's moving at 2 miles an hour.
That's true. This is that shot was very Star Wars.
Look at how bad this looks. Just remember that people actually like this show every time you see shit like this.
Yeah, that's like one shot in the show. I mean, there were a couple of moments of action that were a little clunky. I think especially like when the battle armor is like fighting that bear or whatever. That was also pretty clunky. But it's like that's not gonna make a good show bad. You know what I mean?
In the next scene, we see Lucy explore the desert wasteland of California, and the Enclave scientist finds her at night conveniently and tries to explain to her that the wasteland is an inhospitable nightmare where the creatures there have adapted to become more lethal and she needs to adapt in kind. This is one of many scenes where it shows Lucy is incredibly naive about the state of the world and she needs to become hardened to survive here. Guess what? She never does. Next scene, we're back with Maximus, and we soon learn that the night.
What? She never becomes hardened? What do you... Oh, that's... She literally, like, shoots her own mom at the end of the show. Like, what are you talking about?
Night that he's serving under is a pathetic weakling asshole and probably also racist. Yeah, for some reason...
That's never a thing in the show. What? He's never racist. What are you talking about? What? Hold on, maybe I'm misremembering? I don't think that the guy I don't think that the guy, the knight guy, ever said anything racist to Maximus. I think he was just an asshole. What?
The genius showrunners, and Bethesda by extension, thought it was a good idea to make the Brotherhood of Steel evil. Arguably the most marketable part of the Fallout universe, they made incredibly unlikable in this show. On the one hand, it did subvert my expectations completely. On the other, it just feels like yet another...
What? It's not... There were literally, like, there are, like, some guys in the Brotherhood of Steel who are, like, assholes. And there are other guys that aren't. And I wouldn't even say that, like, the Brotherhood of Steel are, like, the most evil people in the show. It's, like, honestly, like, most of the factions are pretty dog shit. Like, obviously, like, the Vault-Tec guys are dog shit. And the Brotherhood of Steel are dog shit in their own ways. Like, it's not like there's, like, a clear-cut, these guys are, like, the good guys. Although, I guess maybe the... Well, no, yeah, because even, like, the socialist lady, even, like, her faction, they raided the Vault-Tecs, and they killed innocent people. Like, I don't think that there's any, like, clear-cut, oh, yeah, this is, like, the really good group in the show. Yeah, like, that's just really, like... That's just really lazy analysis from this guy.
Other way to shit on the Fallout universe. And before some people strawman me, I'm not saying the Brotherhood of Steel should be like Fallout 3 where they're all good guy knights or whatever. I'm completely fine with the Brotherhood being xenophobic isolationists who preserve technology. I think that's great. Unfortunately, they never do that in this show.
It's like, God, they should have been racist. Like that's the funny thing. It's like he said in his Malding comment, he's like people hate me for my political perspectives. But it's like, bro, you literally like inject your political perspective in everything that you talk about. It's like you can't not comment on your politics when you literally inject it into every part of your analysis of the show.
No, instead, Titus is a mega pussy. He gets taken out by a fucking Yao Guai, a guy in T60 power armor, taken out by a bear. And because he was an asshole, Maximus decides not to save him and then steals...
Are the bears not bad? Or, like, not strong in the show? Or in the games? Is that a thing? Is that another thing that they broke the lore? Should he have been able to easily take out the bear? I don't know.
His power armor and pretends to be him. This is one of many moments where Maximus is borderline evil in this show. But I guess it's okay because the guy was a racist and he looked...
What are you talking about? Literally. That's one of the hooks of the show. That's like, yeah, Maximus might be just a bad guy. That's one of the hooks of the show. At no point was that guy even portrayed as being a racist. What are you talking about? What? This is so hilarious. He's like he gets mad because people are like, they're just bringing up my politics. They only disagree with my takes because they disagree with my politics. Anyways, I'm just gonna interject my politics into literally every part of my criticisms. I'm just gonna invent politics that weren't even in the show.
Looks white. I do want to point out he's not actually technically white, but I don't want to go into that. But of course the question is, how the hell did Titus become...
What the fuck did you just say? Hold on, I didn't even catch that. Hold on.
Racist, and he looks white. I do want to point out he's not actually technically white, but
What is he? What does that mean?
I don't want to go into that. But of course, the question is, how the hell did Titus become a knight in the first place if you earn the power armor through acts of bravery? He was a complete pussy. But no, they don't explain it. And speaking of not explaining it, Maximus doesn't explain what happened.
Yeah, Maximus also gets the squire without really doing anything brave. I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's a contradiction to the games. I don't fucking know. But it's also like, yeah, like you can there are times when people fake it till they make it. I mean, that is a thing. Like that's not an unimaginable thing.
Happened to Titus. No, he just pretends that he died, and now he pretends to be Titus for almost the rest of the entire show. And there's no consequences for this, by the way. At the end, somehow the Brotherhood conveniently forgets that he told them that he died and Titus lived. Oh, and this is not the only plot hole in this show. In the next scene, we're back to Lucy.
I'm trying to remember. I think that might be a valid point, actually. Yeah, I think that might be a valid point, because... Oh, God. Because there's, like, one point in the show where, because, like, the guy, the replacement squire that goes after him, there's, like, obviously a point in the show where it's like, oh, no, he's gonna tell them about Titus. But I think that it is true, actually, that they probably would have been suspicious of Maximus, because Maximus never told them that Titus died, right? Although I'm trying to think actually. By the time that they find Maximus, is he? Oh my God, it's all right. I'm trying to remember like the last episode. I mean, he's not in the power armor though, so I mean, I guess honestly, he could have just told them that, yeah, like, fucking Titus died, because when they find him, I don't think he's like in the power armor or anything, so I don't think it necessarily would have been that suspicious. Although, hold on, actually, hold on. I'm so sorry. I'm trying to remember the show. No, because there's like a point in the show where he's on trial. Why is he on trial again? Is it because of Titus dying? And then when he's on trial, is it because of Titus dying, and then that being coupled with the suspicion over his friend's foot, and then his friend bails him out because he's like, hey man, I actually chopped my own foot off. Ah, shit. Why did he wait so long to make this video? I'm already forgetting the fucking show.
We get a scene straight out of Borderlands where some idiot is living out in the middle of nowhere with no resources, somehow surviving, and he drinks all of Lucy's water. Haha, so funny, she should stop trusting people, but she keeps doing it. Eventually, she heads over to the town of Philly that's actually located in a forest. I gotta say, this is one of the few things I kind of liked about the show. There's a settlement that isn't out in the middle of a wasteland with no resources like Megaton. And yes, there absolutely would be forests. Not only has it been well over 200 years, which is more than enough time for the radiation to be gone, but also it's not like every inch of the country was hit with nukes. So this actually makes a lot of sense. I kind of like this. Now, something I really, really don't like is that Lucy comes across this shop called Ma's Rarities, and this old woman here explains to us that vault dwellers represent rich people and surface dwellers represent poor people. Again, this once again proves fans of the show haven't actually played the fucking games. Either that or they just conveniently ignore obvious...
Well, yeah, I mean, there are a lot of people that watch the show without playing the games. I mean, that's just not... That's definitely true.
Propaganda right in the...
But there are also a lot of games that like, or there are also a lot of fans of the games that like the show, so I mean, contend with that with what you will.
Fucking face. No, Vault Dwellers represent a time capsule of the 50s retro future culture. That's why they're all so naive and friendly and neighborly, and they have to learn...
Yeah, but like, what do you think? How do you think people that are not living in the capsules feel? Like, maybe this isn't something that was explored in the games, but like, how do you think that like people living outside of the vault are gonna feel towards them? They're gonna feel the way that poor people feel about fucking about rich people. I mean, that's not like that's just like not something that's like really I feel like should be treated as like a massive change. Like maybe they never touched about that in the games, but I feel like that's just like an obvious plot point that would be explored at some point. Like obviously people that live out in the wasteland are going to feel some type of way about people that are like nice and cozy up in their vaults. What are we complaining about here?
To survive in this inhospitable environment where everything's trying to kill you. Never at any point in any of the games is it implied that vault dwellers are rich people. The only vaults that maybe come close to that are the control vaults, and yes, it's set up that Vault 33 is...
What I don't remember the exact dialogue from that lady. Like, was it about like was she literally calling Lucy rich, or was she just talking about like how privileged she was and how like easy she must have had it compared to like the wastelanders or whatever? I truth be told, I don't remember exactly what the nature of that I don't remember what exactly the nature of that conversation was, because again, like when I'm like thinking about it now, it's like what would being rich even mean in like the wasteland? Like, it's not like the people down there have like the same currency of like bottle caps and shit that they have up on the surface. I'm pretty sure that whole like the shopkeeper lady was more so just saying was more so just talking about how like easy the vault dwellers have it. But I don't know. I guess I could be wrong about that.
Control vault, but it's not in reality. We'll get to that plot twist when it comes. The vast majority of vaults had horrific science experiments take place in them. I wouldn't exactly call that a haven for the rich. So of course the lady doesn't help her, but conveniently
does she know? Do the people know that there were a bunch of science experiments in the vaults? Is that like a widely known thing? I don't know. These are questions that I'm asking, because a lot of this is just him being like, this is bad because game different, and I don't know. I honestly don't know.
The Enclave scientist caught up with her, and he reveals that he knows all about Vault 33, and of course it turns out that he's the guy that she's looking for to find a way to get to her father. Of course, the ghoul shows up, and we get half of a pretty cool action scene where we get to see Walton Goggins blow away a bunch of mercs. And actually, yeah, it's pretty cool. He's got some kind of shotgun firing, I guess, armor-piercing sabot rounds. And no, I'm not going to nitpick that. It's Fallout. Obviously, the guns aren't realistic, and Bethesda has proven time and time again they know nothing about guns. But it looks pretty cool, I'll say that. One thing that does kind of bother me about this scene is that for some reason, ghouls are now basically immortal zombies. If you don't shoot them in the head, they don't die. That is a pretty big retcon, and don't try to tell me it isn't one, because it's never been established that you have to shoot them in the head. Even if you don't think gameplay is canon, which I think is just absurd, but we're not going to get into that. This is clearly a
I mean, yeah, if there's no doubt that like the ghoul in the show, like he it's pretty evident that like his invulnerability is like pretty intense. So like if ghouls weren't portrayed that way in the games, you could call it a retcon. You could also maybe call it some kind of like mutation maybe that happened over the course of the games. Maybe they're just like adding a new type of ghoul, you know? I mean, it depends on how they explained it, or how they would explain it if like the showrunners were asked. Maybe maybe this is just like a different type of ghoul. I'm honestly not sure.
Retcon. Also, in the chaos, the ghoul stabs Dogmeat, and yes, I'll be calling the dog Dogmeat because Walton Goggins himself calls the dog Dogmeat near the end of the show, so might as well be. But don't worry, the dog doesn't die. Now, this is where the episode goes to shit again. Lucy gives this grand speech, which is pretty cringe, shoots the ghoul with a tranq dart. We get an admittedly pretty good line.
Well, now that is a very small drop in a very, very large bucket of drugs.
And then Maximus shows up to save the day, and they fucking turned power armor into Iron Man armor. It looks so stupid. And if you think this looks bad, just watch this, guys. Come on, that's something straight out of a Bollywood film. Not to mention Maximus.
What was Bollywood about that? I mean, yeah, like Maximus doesn't know how to use the power armor. I don't really see anything all that wrong with with what we just saw.
This is an idiot. Why doesn't he have a gun? He had a gun in a previous scene. It didn't break. In the midst of this really shitty Marvel movie fight, the old lady grinds this metal boot onto the Enclave dude's leg, which just feels like straight shock value because it doesn't even save him, by the way. And then the ghoul shows up in the room, gives...
Well, yeah, he's probably... Like, this technology is obviously not, like... it's not, like, the most, like, reliable, I would assume, that you would be able to get out in the wasteland. And also, you're probably supposed to rest for a bit after you have the surgery. Probably not supposed to go out on some kind of fucking trek. You know what I mean?
Dogmeat a stim pack, and now all of a sudden they're buddies. And of course, he uses Dogmeat to track down the Enclave guy. The episode ends back in the middle of the desert again. The Enclave dude is starting to bleed out, and so he tells Lucy to chop off his head because the thing they need is in his head. Again, this is done purely for shock value and is idiocy. The thing in his neck does not need to be in his head to work, so they carry around a fucking rotting head for the entire season.
I mean... Well, I mean, yeah, like, I guess she could just... I mean, I guess that's true, but it's also just, like, a funny visual. Like, is that really, like... is that really, like, the most egregious thing to have, like a funny visual of a head? I mean, I don't know. This is just, like, the most silliest of nitpicks. I don't even know.
Nobody thinks to dig the chip out of his neck. Dude, they turn Fallout into Borderlands. You're gonna see that more and more throughout this show. This is straight up fucking Borderlands cringe, unfunny garbage. And that's episode 2. I give it a...
Like, so here, this is where I'm at with this review right now. It's like, the thing different from how it was in game. Maybe that's true. I haven't played the game, so I obviously have no investment in that. I don't care. This is kind of cringe. This scene is kind of cringe. The action is kind of bad. Okay. I don't know. Like, I can kind of agree with the fight with the bear. It was a little stilted. I don't agree with the Maximus thing, because that's like... that he doesn't know how to use the power armor. That's completely understandable. And he'd be like, "That's shock value. She's carrying the head with him. That's gross." It's just a funny visual, bro. Like, what? Like, none of these criticisms are really all that sound to me, or like most of them. This really does just sound like a guy yapping. I'm not gonna lie.
A 3 out of 10. The only reason it isn't even lower than that is because Walton Goggins is pretty entertaining as the ghoul, and honestly, he only gets better from here. Everything else about this episode was awful. I feel like if you have any standards for television at all, you would have stopped watching this show after this episode. It was that bad. Now on to episode 3. It begins with a flashback before the war as we see more of the life of Cooper Howard before he became the Ghoul. It turns out he was in fact an actor for Westerns, and his wife is an executive at Vault Tech. It's good to see even in the alternate future of the Fallout universe, we still have diversity hires in the highest position of power. Back in the present, we...
See, like, this is the thing, right? Like, he's just a lunatic, you know what I mean? And, like, people are calling you a lunatic. Nobody's coping about anything. Like, you just are a lunatic. You are a weirdo. And everybody's laughing at you and calling you a weirdo. It's not bots. It's not, there's not some grand conspiracy against you. We're just pointing at the fucking circus clown and we're laughing. Because he just can't help but inject his politics into everything that he talks about. And it's just funny.
We see that the Ghoul has come across the corpse of the Enclave scientist, and we get yet another huge retcon. Ghouls now have to take a special serum to avoid going feral. In the original game, the reason why ghouls were hated, or at least were outcast from society, is because they were ticking time bombs. They could go feral at any moment. I can't remember if it's ever quite confirmed, but it's definitely suspected that extended exposure to radiation eventually rots their brain completely and they go feral. But no, now in the show, there's a special serum that they have to take periodically to avoid going feral. I know there's going to be some idiot that's going to say that this is not a retcon, but there were plenty of ghouls that survived over 200 years. What is it that happened in the past 15 after New Vegas that ghouls now all of a sudden have to take a serum? No, this is a fucking retcon. After a pointless scene with Lucy, we're back.
That could be a valid point. I mean, it could also be like a different type of ghoul. I mean, maybe they should have clarified that, but I think for most people probably, like, obviously, like, I had no idea about any of this when I watched the show. And most people that played the games, they also probably just didn't care, because it's like, it's not necessarily like the most important thing in the world, I guess. Like, I don't know.
To Maximus, and this is the scene I mentioned last episode where he lies to the Brotherhood pretending to be Titus and says that Maximus died. Again, there's no consequences for this. It never comes up again. After a borderline pointless scene where he has to sell one of his teeth.
What was the I don't remember what the trial was about at the end of the show. Like, what why was he about to be executed? Was it not because of was it not because they were suspicious? Because of Titus and Maximus? Because of, you know, the disappearance of Titus and the Squire, for that matter, and the along with the incident with his friend chopping off his foot? I'm trying to remember. I genuinely don't remember what that specific plot point was and the reason why he was about to be, like, executed or whatever. I assume he's going to get to it at some point, right?
To afford repairing a part, a bunch of raiders tried to steal his power armor, and he gets his ass beat, again, because he lost his gun off screen. He does manage to beat up most of them, including crushing one of their heads with the power armor, and then the Brotherhood of Steel arrives, giving him a new squire. And of course, it's one of the guys who beat him up in the first scene he shows up. And so Maximus, being one of our main protagonists, a hero we can all look up to, nearly crushes his fucking head. Dude, I couldn't believe this. Is he supposed to be a villain? Man, you can tell these guys got beat up in high school, and this is their revenge fantasy, because Maximus continues the cycle of bullying, doing...
Yes! You're supposed to be dubious about Maximus's, like, about, like, whether or not he's like a really bad person. Yes, that's the point of the character. You're not really supposed to, like, you're supposed to feel extremely conflicted about him and suspicious about his intentions. Yes, that's the point of the show. Yes. Maximus literally brings this up later on in the show. Like, Lucy, I'm like a bad person. And Lucy's like, hey, listen, bro. Everybody's a bad person in the fucking wasteland. Yes, you're supposed to feel weird about Maximus. What, like, how did... Okay, this guy's not real. This guy's not real. You can't what, like, how... What the... Oh my god.
Exactly what Titus did to him. When we get back to Lucy, I'm now realizing I neglected to mention what she's actually doing. She's trying to deliver the head to the raider chick Moldaver, whose real identity is really stupid, but we'll get to that at the end. Anyway, she comes across a lake and is attacked by a gulper, which you may remember from the Far Harbor DLC for Fallout 4. Now, they looked completely different in that. Now they're giant pink salamanders with fingers in their mouths for some reason. This makes them seem more like an FEV mutant. Why the hell would radiation make you grow human fingers in your mouth? Whatever. Anyway, it eats the head. Of course, the ghoul catches up with her and decides to use her as...
Like, this is... I'm gonna be honest. This is like the kind of review that I just don't really like. Like, just describing things that happen and being like, well, this thing the guy grabbed the pencil, and like saying it in like a sarcastic tone as if to like imply that this is like actual critique when it's just really not. It's just like, who gives a shit, bro? Like, what? Like, you like, none of this critique feels really substantive. It's literally just him like describing things that happened in a sarcastic tone. Like, I don't even know.
His bait while he monologues about how ineffective torture is. This is probably the scene where I ended up liking this guy, because he's definitely a villain. I don't know if they were attempting to write an anti-hero, but he's definitely not. He's a villain, but he's a good villain. Walton Goggins is a great actor, and I think they were trying to go for a New Vegas vibe with the cowboy thing, but to me, it honestly feels more like a character straight out of the New Vegas Bounties mods developed by Some Guy 2000, and those are all great if you haven't played them. Despite being some of the oldest mods for New Vegas, they're still probably the best. Back at Vault 33, we get our third concurrent plot throughout the season, the mystery behind this triple vault system. I gotta say, it was actually pretty intriguing. For a while, this was my favorite part of the show, and the reason I kept watching. Big Schnoz actually turns out to be a pretty good character. Unfortunately, they really ruin it at the end, so I'm not going to cover it episode by episode. We'll talk about the whole side plot when it wraps up at the end. After we get a scene dedicated to Maximus just abusing his bully, we get another subtle retcon. The bully implies that the Brotherhood of Steel is going to wipe out ghouls from existence. Did the writers confuse the Brotherhood with the Enclave? Killing ghouls has never been an objective of the Brotherhood. Where the hell did this come from? And don't even tell me he pulled this out his ass just because he's supposed to be a racist. Though, actually, knowing these writers, maybe that's...
What are you talking about? No, like, I don't think that race has ever like made a big deal in the show at all, is it? Like, what? Like, what are we? What the fuck is? Like the people that complain the most about like racial stuff and like wokeness and whatever, they really are the people that are the most obsessed with race. They're the most obsessed with woke stuff. They're the most obsessed with politics. It's everything that it's the only thing that these kinds of people ever think about. It is literally impossible for them to consume a piece of media without just like mauling at the fact that like black people exist. Like, it is insane how like sad the existence of these people are.
Is exactly what they're implying. But anyway, back to the ghoul and Lucy. The gulper eventually takes bite, nearly voring Lucy, but of course it gets away, and this is where another major plot hole happens. The ghoul says gulpers digest slowly. He then makes a joke about side quests,
The wasteland's got its own golden rule.
Oh, what's that?
Thou shalt get sidetracked by bullshit every goddamn time.
Ooh, wow, haha, so meta. And then he leaves to go sell Lucy's organs. I'm not making this up. That is the sequence of events. I seriously have to ask at this point, if you're a real human and
Wait,
you
what?
like this show, did you get high before watching? Were you
Wait,
drinking?
I don't even know what
Did
the
you-
criticism there is. Hold on.
He pulled this out his ass just because he's supposed to. But anyway, back to the ghoul and Lucy.
What
The gulper
exactly is he saying
eventually
here?
takes bite, nearly voring Lucy, but of course it gets away. And this is where another major plot hole happens. The ghoul says gulpers digest slowly. He then makes a joke about side quests.
The wasteland's got its own golden rule.
Oh, what's that?
Thou shalt get sidetracked by bullshit every goddamn time.
Ooh, wow, haha, so meta. And then he leaves to go sell Lucy's organs. I'm not making this up. That is the sequence of events. I seriously have to ask at this point, if you're a real human and you like this show, did you get high before watching? Were you drinking? Did you get vaxxed 3 or 4?
Am I stupid? What's his point exactly? What exactly is his point there? Am I just stupid? Do I just like not understand what he's saying? What was the retcon or the plot hole? What? I'm gonna try one more time. Hold on.
Sell Lucy's plot hole happens. The ghoul says gulper, and this is where another major plot hole happens. The ghoul says gulpers digest slowly. He then makes a joke about side quests.
The wasteland's got its own golden rule.
Oh, what's that?
Thou shalt get sidetracked by bullshit every goddamn time.
Ooh, wow, haha, so meta. And then he leaves to go sell Lucy's organs. I'm not making this up. That is the sequence of events.
What is the plot hole? He's not describing the plot hole. I'm sorry, I just got confused there. I thought I was too busy with Minecraft and I missed it. But he's not like actually describing a plot hole, is he?
I seriously have to ask at this point, if you're a real human and you like this show, did you get high before
I might just be
watching?
dumb, though.
Were
I
you
don't know.
drinking? Did you get vaxxed 3 or 4 times? How the hell could you like this show? So back to Maximus and the Squire, we get an incredibly awkward scene where Maximus gets the Squire to explain why he bullied him. But obviously, since he's still pretending to be Titus, he does it by trying to get him to say something horrible about him, and this somehow leads him to explaining that the only reason he bullied Maximus is because he himself was bullied until he showed up, and so he just redirected the bullying to Maximus. And so it's supposed to be this big like, oh, see, this guy's not so bad. And so then Maximus starts treating him better. Unfortunately, this goes in a really stupid direction later, but I actually kind of like this scene. It felt much more mature than the rest of this show, but it was handled somewhat poorly. Oh, and I know I said I wasn't going to bring up the Vault 33 subplot, but I do want to point out that a black guy who I guess is an engineer says that the water chip is broken and they never bring it up again. So that was just a completely pointless reference to Fallout 1, which is funny because
yeah, I think that's true actually. I mean that is also something that they could just bring up like in a later season or maybe. Yeah, but I mean I think that is true. I don't think there's ever actually like a point in the show where like Vault 32 is like running out of water or something, right? I'm trying to remember. I don't think that ever does come up.
because if you've played Fallout 1, you know that this show completely shits all over the story with all of the retcons. You want me to name another big one? The Master,
bro.
the villain of the original game who was turning people into super mutants, was finding those people from vaults, and his headquarters was located near the Boneyard. It would have been in spitting distance of Vault 33. You're telling me that he never found this vault that was out in the open? He never managed to get inside and mutate all those people into super mutants. Speaking of super mutants, there
was it part of the story that he got through literally every single vault in his vicinity? That he literally went through every single one of them? Is that Is that a retcon necessarily? I don't know, but that doesn't necessarily sound like the most convincing explanation in the world.
There are none in this show. The West Coast canonically has intelligent super mutants unless they all got killed by the Brotherhood of the Enclave or something. But no, they are never mentioned in this show. One of the most iconic things in the Fallout franchise isn't in the Fallout TV show.
What are we what? That's like saying like why don't you see the Globaglorp race in the Force Awakens? The Globaglorps! They have to be in the Force Awakens. Like, okay, they never come across one. Like, what? What is? Does literally like every single thing that's ever been in a game have to show up in the show? Like, what? I don't know. This is just like, these criticisms are just like so. Like, I don't even know. I don't really know how to respond because it's just like, it's just silly.
Okay, enough tangents. Let's wrap up this episode. Eventually, Maximus catches up to the...
I mean, unless the super mutants are just like, are like so integral to every single, to the world of Fallout that like is not seeing a super mutant the same as not seeing like a tree in the real world? I don't know. Like, are they really, like, is it really that? I don't know. Like, again, Fallout fans, let me know in the comments down below. Is it that big of a deal that there wasn't a super mutant, whatever the fuck that is in the show? I don't know. But that sounds like a silly criticism to me.
Head. He saves his squire from being devoured alive, yanks out its guts, and now they have the head. And for the final scene, it cuts back to the ghoul and Lucy, and to just spit in my face in particular, and all the shills who fucking lied in my first review. The ghoul drinks water directly in front of Lucy. And you know what's funny? In a later episode, he eats food too. Ghouls need water to survive. This has been established multiple times in the series, and it's now established in the show, and yet he was buried underground for years with no water or food.
Yeah. I think that could be like a valid criticism. I mean, it's also a thing of like, maybe they just threw food down there somewhere. But I mean, I think that's probably a valid criticism, right? Because he was in that coffin for a long time, right? Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably true.
Explain it, Shills. Explain it. And for the final scene of the episode, we're back in the past again.
Because like, that's also the thing that this guy also probably doesn't understand, is that I think most people, they probably don't consume media this way, where they're like hyper fixating on nitpicks like this. And I'm not saying it's wrong to be somebody that just like dislikes something due to their nitpicks. I think that's a valid way of consuming media. I just think, I don't know, to me a lot of these nitpicks do just seem silly, but I'm not saying that, but like that one right there that he just brought up, that's an example, at least from what I remember, that could be a valid one. But like, most people aren't going to look at something like that and be like, oh, well, I hate the show now. Because most people that watch the show, they think it's fun. This guy thinks he's slick. They think it's fun. They think it's funny. They really enjoy the characters. They enjoy being in this world. So it's like, he's like, explain this to me, shills. And it's like, that doesn't make the show bad. Like, these like little nitpicks that you're bringing up, it just doesn't make the show bad. At least to me.
Again, and we see that Cooper inspired the Vault Boy. Yes, even though the Vault Boy has blonde hair, no, it was Walton Goggins' character throwing up a thumbs up that inspired the Vault Boy. Wow, what a great addition to the Fallout lore. Alright, episode 3 gets a 4 out of 10. It was definitely better than the last one. I suppose if you turned off your brain completely and didn't care about the Fallout lore at all, it's kinda watchable, but it certainly isn't good by any metric. On to episode 4. This one is supposed to be all about Lucy losing her innocence and seeing how horrific the wasteland is. It starts off with the ghoul taking her to some other ghoul guy who's about to turn feral, and I'm just gonna call him Cooper for the rest of the show. The ghoul is such a stupid fucking name. Cooper shoots him before he goes feral and then starts eating him. He's not even feral, yet he'll fucking eat other ghouls. What the hell? But I guess I finally figured out why Zoomers like this show. He eats ass.
Come on, Volty. Ass jerky don't make itself.
In the next scene, we see Lucy.
Is that breaking Fallout canon? Do people in the wasteland, have they never stooped to like eating other people? Is that a thing? Or like is that really such a crazy thing to imagine in the world of Fallout? I don't know.
Has gotten so thirsty that she's willing to drink irradiated water. And conveniently, Cooper starts to turn feral because he ran out of serum, I guess. So Lucy makes a run for it, but he catches her with his lasso, but then she ends up biting his finger off. And so to get even, he slices one of her fingers off, and she barely even reacts, dude. What is this terrible acting? And you guys say she's not a Mary Sue. Oh, and once again, I want to briefly talk about Vault 33.
No, she's not a Mary Sue. Like, I don't... In what... Like, she's not a Mary Sue when she gets beaten up by people. A Mary Sue is somebody that, like, never struggles. She very much struggles in the show. Like, it's just... I don't know, maybe this is woke again, where people just... Where there's no set definition of Mary Sue, but... I think to most people, that's just not a Mary Sue character. I don't know what to tell you.
Because Sweet Home Alabama ends up hooking up with the blonde chick after her husband died, and she's pregnant with his child. And she ends up giving birth, and Alabama raises another man's child. Now I know why Redditors like this show. But before I start saying stuff that's going to get me banned, let's get back to Lucy and Cooper. He ends up...
Is that like a thing that he's against, like, raising another man's kid? I don't know. I mean, I don't... Like, what... Is that going to get him banned? Is that a thing? Is YouTube going to ban you if you express the opinion that, like, it's, like, shameful to raise another man's baby? Is that going to get you banned? I don't... What... What was he going to say? I mean, something... I'm still waiting for the thing that caused that, like, fucking warning to appear before the YouTube video. I'm waiting to see whatever the fuck that is.
Delivering her to a super duper mart that functions as a organ harvesting clinic. As soon as she gets inside, he passes out. I guess that's part of the process of becoming feral now. And she ends up meeting a Mr. Handy, and she acts like she's never seen one before. I mean, I can understand her vault not having any of them, but really? She knows about power armor. Whatever. We get another kind of stupid scene where the Mr. Handy sews a rotting finger that was just sitting in a drawer for who knows how long, not frozen, onto her hand, and it just works. Then the Mr. Handy rolls...
Is that not okay in the world of Fallout? Was there a lot of verisimilitude in Fallout before this regarding like replaced limbs and whatnot? I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's the case.
Her out to the two owners of this legitimate business, and they're straight out of Idiocracy. There's no guards here, by the way, either. These guys own like more than a dozen slaves, yet they couldn't afford any raider guards or mercs or anything to that effect. Paradise Falls from Fallout 3 had to have at least 20 slavers in there who were fully armed and competent. But, you know, in the Fallout TV show, it's just two retards and their robot. Because, you know, no one would be smart enough to try and actually raid a place full of supplies. No. Especially not after the NCR collapsed.
There's literally a scene in, like, a future episode He doesn't have the excuse, by the way, because he's seen all of them at this point. There's literally a scene in the future episode that talks about how there's like law enforcement around here. So yeah, there's like some amount of of like understanding between this area that like that's a legitimate business. What? So I mean, yeah, that's just another shitty criticism.
There definitely wouldn't be raiders trying to get supplies, no. Oh, and it gets even dumber. When the Mr. Handy takes her to the surgery room, it doesn't sedate her, and she just kicks its fucking arm? A 90-pound woman kicked a robot's arm and then just rolled off of the bed. Then she uses a defibrillator to shock the thing. Anyway, she rolls out the Mr. Handy to the two idiots. They make a joke about her holding a air conditioner hostage. While they don't draw their guns, because she's clearly no threat to them, she reveals that she filled its hose with a Braxo cleaner, which is basically just supposed to be bleach, but the show acts like it's hydrochloric acid. Either way, she gets them to release all of the slaves, including feral ghouls, which, why the hell do they have feral ghouls as slaves? Don't even try to tell me that ghoul organs are good for something. And obviously you can't use feral ghouls for any slave labor. This doesn't make any sense.
Wait, I'm trying to remember. Were they necessarily slaves? Like, were all of them considered as slaves necessarily? I mean, is it again, this guy is obviously like autistically being like, well, in the games. Like, has that ever been explicitly stated that ghouls could never be experimented on or like used for parts in, for some reason? Is that an explicit rule of Fallout? I don't know. But again, another criticism that I don't know, just seems weird.
Anyone watching this show use their brain at any moment. Whatever, the ghouls and the idiots manage to take each other out, except for one woman who's barely holding it together. Of course, she ends up going feral, and Lucy has to pick up the 10mm pistol from Fallout. Make sure to get your replica in the Bethesda store. You know what's funny? There was a bot that actually tried to say this show was made with love because they made a replica 10mm pistol from Fallout 4. This isn't even the original design for the 10mm pistol. No, this is the Fallout 4 redesign. In fact, all of the iconic Fallout weapons are the Fallout 4 designs. And look, I realize this
Isn't if this takes place after Fallout 4, wouldn't it be the ones from Fallout 4? What even is this criticism? I don't like if it was another design, then somebody else could be like, well, obviously they just use the ones from Fallout 1, but not the ones from Fallout 4, so they hold some kind of bias. It's like, what? Who cares? Who cares about that? Who cares what version what iteration they use?
This is completely subjective and up to personal taste, but I just think the Fallout 4 gun designs are ugly. So
wow.
As we just saw, Lucy, who's totally not a Mary Sue girl boss, single-handedly took out this organ harvesting operation and then gives Cooper a vial of the ghoul serum to save him. After she leaves, Cooper heads inside and raids all of their supplies and watches one of his old cowboy movies. And I guess since he doesn't need the bounty from the Enclave guy's head anymore, he drops out of the plot for a while. And that's episode 4. Again, I'd probably have to give it another 4 out of 10. It was barely watchable. Again, this show is dumb as hell, but at the very least, Walton Goggins' acting is very entertaining to watch, but pretty much everything else about the show sucks. Now on to episode 5. The first scene in this episode is incredibly stupid. Maximus reveals to his squire that he's not in fact Titus, and so Maximus is like, listen, we got to get our story straight before we report back to the Brotherhood, but no, the squire guy is like, they're gonna kill you. Why the hell would they kill him, especially if he hadn't lied in the first place? But even though he did lie, he could just say that Titus died honorably in combat, and so he had to take up the...
What are you talking about? That's because they were already suspicious about him because of, like, the thing with his friend's foot. If he, like, for him to be like, yeah, so the Titus guy, he got mauled by a bear... Obviously, that's gonna look suspicious. Like, what do you... What? See, this is why I just suspect... This is why I just suspect that, like, his criticisms based off of, like, previous Fallout games are nonsense. I just suspect that. Because whenever he starts talking about, like, the actual show, it's, like, so easy to be just, like as for me that just watched the show, to be like... What? Like, how could you possibly, like, not understand such, like, a simple concept?
Power armor to finish the mission. Why would they kill him for that? They're not even supposed to be here in the West Coast. They were eliminated by the new California Republic. And by the end of New Vegas, depending on who you sided with, they were either absorbed into the NCR or wiped out completely by, like, all of the other factions. That's really something I should have mentioned in the first video, but my point is, it doesn't really make any sense to bring them back just to make them look this bad. Anyway, Maxis being clearly an evil psych...
I mean, I don't know, like, that might be a valid criticism, I'm not sure. I mean, I guess people can let me know in the comments if what he's talking about there, if maybe that was just, like, a faction of the Brotherhood of Steel that got wiped out, or if it is, like, explicitly the case that no, all of them got wiped out. I don't know. I did not play those games.
Go stomps on the Squire's foot, crushing it, and it looks horribly mangled when they show it later. But he manages to get behind him and removes the fusion core from the power armor, which, of course, the showrunner's doing zero research. Think that you get locked inside the armor when it runs out of power. Can you imagine in Fallout 4 if when you ran out of fusion cores, you just got soft locked? And don't tell me that's just a gameplay mechanic. That makes no fucking sense.
No, I mean, that might be a valid complaint. I mean, that is definitely a weird, obviously, like, a weird design decision.
Even in the dystopian world of Fallout, you don't think someone would have brought up at some point that you get locked inside power armor if it runs out of power? Yeah, again, more bad writing and retcons, but no, the show never breaks the canon. The show never breaks the canon. I'm not an AI chatbot, I swear. Anyway, the next morning, a bunch of rad roaches try to devour him alive, but Lucy just so happens to find him. Guys, how big is this wasteland? It's supposed to be 3 blocks? And yes, I know Lucy has a tracker on the head.
Yeah. But it's also like they were all within the general vicinity of one another. Like, this is the most ridiculous thing in the world.
But the Squire already left hours ago. What are the chances she would pass down the exact same path where the...
Yeah, because if she's following the head, she might go to where he was already at. What? This isn't the most ridiculous thing in the world.
Head was the previous night. Whatever, I guess I'm nitpicking again. So after a really long, pointless conversation, Lucy decides to trust him. Maximus is like the one guy she should trust because he literally saved her life. But anyway, they start traveling together and she asks him what happened in the last 200 years. And this idiot thought that when she mentioned the bombs falling, that she was referring to the nuke dropped on Shady Sands and not the world ending. So we've established that the Brotherhood of Steel is not only debatably evil now, but they don't even teach initiates basic history. Eventually, the pair come across 2 suspicious figures on a bridge, and Maximus, being smart for once, says we should draw our gun, because we can't trust anyone, right? Because Lucy just told us that she doesn't trust people anymore, right? No, this fucking dumb bitch doesn't want to draw her gun, and oh, big shock, they turn out to be fiends. Yes, they're trying to throw a bone to New Vegas.
Does she say that she doesn't want to trust anybody necessarily? Is that something that she explicitly said? I don't remember. But also, I don't know that she necessarily like trusted these people as much as she just like wanted to try to do it in a different way. Because really, the actual like thing that she does at the end of the last episode, it says that I may end up looking like you, but I'm never gonna be like you. She says that to the ghoul. So she does explicitly say that she's not gonna turn into like a bad person being out in this wasteland. So I don't know. Again, that just feels like a dumb complaint.
Fans after shitting down their throat multiple times, and one of the fiends gets a shot off on Maximus. He loaded a rotten tooth into his gun, which I'm not even going to get into that, but whatever. The point is he gets injured because Lucy's
What part of Fallout lore does that break? Please, no, get into it. Enlighten me.
an idiot. Then next up, we finally get to the biggest fuck you in the entire show, where we see the giant crater where Shady Sands used to be. It was populated with 34,000 people. And as they reveal in the later scene, it looks like they basically restored civilization back to the wasteland, just like I said in my review of episode 1. And like I mentioned in the intro, this is not where Shady Sands is located. Shady Sands is not in LA. It's like at least 100 miles outside of it. They could have looked this shit up on the wiki, man. There's no excuse. They didn't do any research. And Todd Howard hates what Fallout's really about, and that's a post-apocalypse where humanity is trying to rebuild after the world ended.
So yeah, I don't know. I honestly don't know if that's like a lore break or not. Like, I have no idea.
By the time of Fallout New Vegas, they succeeded. The new California Republic dominated the state. They effectively brought the old world America back, though arguably even more corrupt, and it was starting to fall apart at the time of New Vegas. If you paid attention to the dialogue from a lot of the characters, especially Caesar, a big part of his motivation with the Legion was seeing the gradual decline of the NCR. But instead of seeing that happen naturally due to the results of the second battle of Hoover Dam, no, Bethesda just fucking nuked it back to square one. Somehow, just destroying the capital city wiped out an entire empire across the state. Why did Bethesda do this? Well, a lot of people speculate it's because of the long-running rumor that they hate Fallout New Vegas because they didn't make it, Obsidian did. And a lot of the people who worked on Fallout New Vegas worked on Fallout 1 and 2. And so, of course, to no one's surprise, the original creators of the series did a much better job than the hacks at Bethesda. And Fallout New Vegas is still considered by most to be the greatest game in the series. So Bethesda has been butthurt about this for over a decade. And
I mean, I don't know. There's just like conspiracy theory. I don't really care. I have no idea.
this show was finally their opportunity to say fuck you to all the real fans of Fallout. That's exactly what happened, and that is...
I mean, I don't even think Bethesda necessarily had that much to do with the story of the show. Like, I'm pretty sure it's other people that wrote the story. And Bethesda, I mean, this is what they've said. They've said that, like, other people wrote the story, and I think, like, Bethesda were just there to, like, make sure that, like, lore and stuff wasn't broken, or, like, hey, don't do this because we're going to do that in Fallout 5. Which, I mean, maybe they did a bad job of keeping track of the lore, at least according to this guy. But I don't know that I buy this conspiracy theory that, like, Todd Howard, like, made sure to like disrespect New Vegas or some shit like that. I don't know.
Why I fucking despise the people who like this show. Fallout died with Fallout 4, and this is just pissing on the corpse. In the last couple scenes of the show, Lucy and...
Guys, I don't know how I'm going to be able to move forward in my life with the synthetic man not liking me. You know, I just really value his opinion, and the idea of him despising me is just, it just hurts. It's just really sad. I don't know why. I don't know why he would say that, because I really value his perspective and his opinions.
And Maximus take refuge inside of Vault 4, and it's another vault that has somehow managed to survive over 200 years. Do the writers even understand the appeal of the vaults in the Fallout games? Discovering the horrendous experiments that either killed or mutated everyone inside is one of the most fun parts of those games. And while it's obvious that some experiments went down here, they subvert your expectations, I'll put it at that. And that's the end of episode 5. I can't really give...
So is that not a thing where... Oh, wait, so is that a thing in the games where, like, the vaults kind of go to shit? Is that supposed to be a thing in the games? Like, is it novel for Vault 32 to be like kind of normal, I guess? I don't know. Although Vault 32 it's definitely leaning in that direction. I will say.
This a real rating because I skipped about half the episode since about half of it was the Vault
What?
33 subplot. And I will say that half of the episode was definitely better, but showing where Shady Sands got nuked is such a massive fuck you to the real fans of Fallout that I can't really rate this in good faith. It ruins the entire
What? Wait, you just didn't watch it? What do you... Okay.
series. Episode 6 begins with another flashback showing Cooper Howard advertising for the vaults. He's then approached by an executive named Bud, and they start talking about T-45 power armor, and apparently now there's a new fatal flaw with the armor that has never come up before. Definitely not a retcon. The show never breaks the canon, as the bots say. And of course, this is foreshadowing for one of the dumbest scenes in the show in the finale. We'll get to that later. I also want to point out that the T-51 is never mentioned in the show. In fact, did you know that China is never mentioned by name in the show? They only ever referred to them as the Reds. Gee, do you think that's a coincidence? Actually, to the morons who like the show, yeah, they probably do think it is. Anyway, this...
it's definitely that's probably a valid thing to bring up. I mean, I don't know if China was like an explicit thing that would get brought up in the games, and that maybe they didn't because like media is always like trying to appease China or something. I mean, that's probably like a valid thing to bring up. I don't know.
This Corpo guy is incredibly obnoxious. The only reason...
Like, it's undeniable that, like, that a lot of media today desperately tries to create content in a way that is going to appeal to the Chinese government. Like, that's undeniable.
He exists as a setup for a later twist, which is also stupid. The next scene is a corporate party at Cooper's house, and we get to meet the voice of Cogsworth and all the Mr. Handies. Then they talk about communists for a while, and we get quite possibly the dumbest theme of the show that keeps getting pushed from this point forward, that you can make a massive profit off of the end of the world. Now, if you don't take this literally, there is an argument to be made that you can make a lot of money off of selling the apocalypse, especially if you're a gun store. But that's not what they're going for. They are very literal with this, as you'll see later.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with this criticism. I think it was like a silly thing in the show, because I just like, it's just not like, it just doesn't make any sense.
Later. Then in the next scene, we see a couple sheriffs have captured Cooper, and they say they work for the government. Now, I thought this might be a setup for the Enclave to come back, but no, this is a complete nothing burger, as you'll see later in this episode. And now we're back to Lucy and Maximus.
What is this trade? An emerald and 6 raw cod for 6 cooked cod? What? Why would I ever make this trade?
In Vault 4. I'm going to very briefly sum up everything that happens in this vault because it's complete filler. You could cut this entire part of the show out and lose nothing of value. But first, I have to show you quite possibly the worst...
What? What are you talking about? Wait, what? Hold on, is he? I was too busy with my villager trading. Let me make sure I didn't misunderstand what he just said.
Sheriffs have captured Cooper, and they say they work for the government. Now, I thought this might be a setup for the Enclave to come back, but no, this is a complete nothing burger, as you'll see later in this episode. And now we're back to Lucy and Maximus again in Vault 4. I'm going to very briefly sum up everything that happens in this vault, because it's complete filler. You could cut this entire part of the show out and lose nothing of value. But first, I have to...
What are you talking about? This is like the point in the show where like Lucy and Maximus's relationship, like, is really actually established, and where Maximus gets like a taste of what living in a vault is like. What are you talking about?
To show you quite possibly the worst dialogue I've ever seen in a TV show.
You want to have sex?
You mean use my cock?
Nah, this is...
Yeah.
Martin Scorsese would call this cinema. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
I don't know. That weird thing could happen.
What weird thing?
Well, it's just for some guys, not me. But for some guys, you know, when they make it move, it gets all big and hard like a big pimple, and then it pops.
What do the kids say? This is Kino. This is Kino right here.
And they say it could happen to anybody, but it's gross.
The Brotherhood of Steel doesn't teach kids about sex. This is what I'm saying. They're obviously supposed to be evangelical Christians who are probably also racist. This is so fucking transparent.
What are you talking? Why is he so like? He's like so just like eager to inject his politics into literally everything. Literally everything. These kinds of people, they cannot consume media without thinking about politics. They cannot consume media without just forcing it into everything.
Bethesda is so stupid that they let this go through. Okay, anyway, as for the Vault 4 plot, long story short, we get to see the infamous chalkboard that explains what happened to the NCR. Shady Sands mysterious...
It's also like, it's just like, wow. Wow. Oh my god, Sherlock Holmes. It's like the Brotherhood of Steel is supposed to be like a weird religious cult. Wow, bro. Holy shit. Fucking, where's fucking Watson? He must have helped you figure that out, because holy shit.
Seriously fell, quote unquote, in 2277, and this has been confirmed by Todd Howard himself, that this is not the nuke being showed in the chalkboard. No, of course, the nuke dropped at an unknown date that's not written on the chalkboard. And this is totally intentional because, you know, every other point on the chalkboard has a year next to it, but not the nuke, right? No one knows when the nuke dropped because the show has to be canon, which means that it couldn't have dropped in 2277 because obviously every goddamn NCR soldier in New Vegas in 2281 would have fucking mentioned their capital getting nuked. So no, mysteriously, sometime in the 2280s, Shady Sands got nuked, but before...
Hold on. So yeah, let me see something.
Forward to it, but not the nuke, right? No one knows what point on the... It's not nuke, and this has been confirmed. Fell, quote unquote, in 2277, and this has been confirmed by Todd Howard himself, that this is not the nuke being showed in the chalkboard. No, of course, the nuke dropped at an unknown date that's not written on the chalkboard. And this is totally intentional because, you know, every other point on the chalkboard has a year next to it.
I'm just trying to like look at the chalkboard to look at the dates.
Happened. Long story, she let this go get through.
Because I don't have like the Fallout timeline fucking memorized in my head.
As for the Vault 4 plot, long story.
So Okay, so it starts at 2142.
Long story short, we get to see the infamous chalkboard that explains what happened to the NCR. Shady Sands mysteriously fell, quote unquote, in 2277, and this has been confirmed.
And then when does New Vegas take place exactly? Is New Vegas take place,
Been confirmed by Todd Howard himself that this is not the nuke being showed in the chalkboard. No, of course, the nuke dropped at an unknown date that's not written on the chalkboard. And this is totally intentional because, you know, every other point on the chalkboard has a year next to it, but not the nuke, right? No one knows when the nuke dropped because the show has to be canon, which means that it couldn't have dropped in 2277 because obviously every goddamn NCR soldier in New Vegas in 2281 would have fucking mentioned their capital getting nuked.
okay. So did the nuke drop after New Vegas? Is that maybe I'm just getting confused at this point? Why is that a bad thing? Yeah, I mean, it could have just dropped afterwards. I don't know, bro. Okay.
So no, mysteriously, sometime in the 2280s, Shady Sands got nuked, but before that, they quote-unquote fell. Even though, again, not a single NPC in New Vegas describes Shady Sands having fallen, especially not.
God, I'm gonna be honest. I am getting confused about like the timeline of Fallout. So has it been confirmed whether or not the nuke happened before or after New Vegas? Is New Vegas like when Shady Sands is still around, or does New Vegas take place after the nuke dropped? I always thought the whole time whenever I would hear people talk about this, I always thought that what we see in the show when we see like the destroyed town, I figured that was after New Vegas. Hold on, let me listen to him again.
One would have fucking mentioned their capital getting nuked. So no, mysteriously, sometime in the 2280s, Shady Sands got.
Hold on, let me actually. Fallout New Vegas. Year? What year in game? Okay, 2281. Okay. And then when? Okay, and so I guess are they just keeping it vague when the nuke dropped? Like, wouldn't it just be? Like, I guess I'm trying to wrap my mind around why is it a problem if the nuke is dropped after the game takes place and they're kind of keeping it vague?
In 2280, because the show has to, but not the nuke, right? No one knows when the nuke dropped because the show has to be canon, which means that it couldn't have dropped in 2277 because obviously every goddamn NCR soldier in New Vegas in 2281 would have fucking mentioned their capital getting nuked. So no, mysteriously, sometime in the 2280s, Shady Sands got nuked, but before that, they quote-unquote fell. Even though, again, not a single NPC in New Vegas describes Shady Sands having fallen, especially not, you know, Caesar, the guy who monologues about how the NCR is slowly becoming more corrupt and collapsing. No, he wouldn't talk about Shady Sands falling. No. It's almost like all the people defending this didn't play the game. Whatever.
Okay, so he's saying that. So, because that's the thing, I mean, I didn't play the game. So he's saying that Shady Sands, during the events of Fallout New Vegas, I guess, was it already, like, it already fell or something? Or, I'm gonna be honest, I just don't understand the lore of the game. I don't understand like exactly how it works. Like I'm just trying to think Because again, I don't know like what happened in Fallout New Vegas. Like, I guess, is it, so people can explain to me in the comments, is it actually like a retcon that, like, the timeline that he's presenting here? Because I'm a little lost in the sauce here.
Anyway, I gotta move on. So, of course, the residents of this vault, at least some of them, are mutants. The Overseer has one eye. There's a guy with a nose on his forehead. Of course, nobody ever brings it up because they have to build the tension like they're gonna get captured and experimented on. Well, actually, no, they completely subvert your expectations. As it turns out, the original residents of the vault were mega evil Nazi scientists who did the weirdest experiments ever, including making a woman give birth to baby gulpers, who then devour her alive. But eventually, the lab rats rose up and killed all the evil scientists, and now they just accept surface dwellers into their vault. And these surface dwellers have now become cultists for Moldaver. They worship her as some kind of god or some shit, and this is never followed up on, by the way. And as it turns out, Moldaver is actually from the past, and they don't explain that either. And I know what you're gonna say, and we'll get to that. But there's no reason why she would have been one of the people.
Yeah, that is actually another complaint that I had. Or maybe not complaint, because again, a lot of this stuff is also stuff that maybe they're just planning on touching on in the next, in season 2. But yeah, it is suspicious that, like, Moldaver was able to survive when she wasn't in, like, the cryogenic freezing pod or whatever. Like, she wouldn't have been in one of those pods.
Who was preserved. So this stupid waste of time subplot that adds nothing to the story ends with Maximus stealing their
This is like the people that say that, like, episode 3 of The Last of Us, it's like, what does that add to the story? It's what it adds to the characters. Like, first of all, like, obviously Lucy and Maximus's relationship is strengthened throughout this entire thing. And they're obviously just, like, showing Moldaver's influence, that it even corrupts throughout into these vaults and whatnot. And it's just, like, world building. Like, yeah, it's just interesting that there's a vault that's accepting of outsiders. Like, what?
fusion core, possibly killing all of them, getting in his power armor, beating the shit out of people for no reason except for humor, and then when they leave, Lucy convinces him to give them back the fusion core so they...
What do you mean beating the shit out of people for no reason? Okay, he let the guy die because he was an asshole. Which, I mean, I'm not saying that was a good reason. Then he, like, he kills the guys that are, like, trying to kill him, or that are trying to steal the power armor. He obviously fights the ghoul, and then he was gonna kill his, like, the squire guy, because the squire guy was gonna go and tell the Brotherhood of Steel. Like, what do you mean for no reason?
They don't all die. And this is over the course of 2 episodes. They fucking wasted the audience's time so hard with this one. Anyway, back to episode 6. Next scene, we get yet another flashback where we learn that Cooper's wife is just straight up evil. Not only do they not allow dogs in the vault for seemingly no reason, but she also emotionally manipulates him into believing that she's the victim for him going off to war and possibly dying, experiencing untold horrors. He probably has PTSD, but no, she's the victim because she had to wonder if he would come back home alive. Are you fucking kidding me? This is Hillary Clinton all over again. Back to the present, we get another...
Wait, what? What does that even mean? It's also like... what... It's like people like this, there's like this weird thing where people can't take like characters doing bad things that aren't like explicit villains, and just thinking in a nuanced manner about the character without like assigning without assigning like intent to the show, that, oh well, the show is saying that this is good. You know what I mean? Like, the show isn't trying to justify everybody's actions. The show isn't trying to justify this character's actions, saying that, oh, everything that she's doing is good. Like, obviously, to some extent, like, the character's supposed to be a little sympathetic because she's trying to, like, make sure that her family is a part of the group that are in the vaults. But it's obviously all shady as hell. Like, you're not outsmarting the show by noticing that. You know, it's just like, what? I don't know.
Kind of pointless scene. Admittedly, it was cool, at least, where Cooper is taken in front of the president, who's basically just a warlord who decided to call himself the president because he wants to restore law to the waste again. And Cooper sews his finger back on.
Yeah, remember how you completely forgot about that?
I guess ghouls can just heal without radiation now. Cooper ends up taking responsibility for shutting down the organ harvesting operation and also admits to killing multiple people in Philly. I'm assuming this is so they don't find out about the chip in the Enclave scientist's head. So then we get a kind of cool scene straight out of a Western where he kills both of the sheriffs. Then over the course of 2 different flashbacks, we get to see that Moldaver not only is from the past and survived all the way to the present with no explanation. No, she wasn't frozen. Not only that, but she was the leader of a company that...
Well, yeah, she wasn't. There's no explanation. Like, it leaves it open to exploration in further seasons. So that's a thing that I noticed. But I guess I don't think I could really call it a complaint, because it's one of those things where we kind of just have to wait and see, you know. It would probably be helpful for you to recognize that that a lot of your quote-unquote complaints aren't necessarily valid, considering you haven't seen the future content, as evidenced in your first video.
I was discovering how to create cold fusion, an unlimited energy source, which of course Vault-Tec bought her out, because obviously capitalists don't want to end the resource war. And yeah, that's episode 6. I told it largely out of order, but that's because 6 and 7 might as well have been a big 2-parter. So I'm not going to rate this one. Let's just go to episode 7. At the start of episode 7, we see 2 prospectors wearing NCR Veteran Ranger armor. And no, they don't explain it. This is purely just a visual reference to try and appease New Vegas fans. Not to mention, that's like the cheapest looking costume.
What exactly do they need to explain? He can't just be wearing that armor?
Probably in this whole show. I've seen cosplays better than that. At least the scene becomes cool afterward as the ghoul is waiting for them. Cooper explains he killed the guy's older son, but the bullet hole in the letter landed perfectly on the spot pointing to where Moldaver is located. So he threatens to kill the other son if he isn't given location, and well, he does end up killing him. So even though he didn't end up getting the location, I still thought it was a pretty entertaining scene. In a later scene, we finally get a follow-up on the head situation. The squire's foot is horribly mangled, so he's probably going to die. And this piece of shit decides to lock up dog meat in a Nuka-Cola cooler. What the fuck? I thought they were trying to make this character sympathetic. Then in a much later scene, he comes...
It's like, yeah, most of the characters in the show are like they're not like good or bad. They're just like, they just exist in the wasteland. Like, what like, why are you like looking at everybody with such binary thinking? Like, he do something that kind of good. I think show saying that he good person. Wait, but then he do things that are bad. But I brain short circuiting.
Across the snake oil salesman that was saved in episode 2, which I'm not even sure if I even mentioned that in this review, but who gives a shit? The point is, the guy has a magical serum that gives the guy magical regeneration powers. And in a later scene, they imply he's turning into a ghoul. Why didn't they just make it the forced evolutionary virus? Again, I brought this up earlier, but there's no super mutants in this show. But if that was a vial of FEV, that would have made perfect sense why his foot regenerated. Him turning into a ghoul doesn't make any. I don't know, whatever. This whole part was stupid. Moving on. Eventually, Cooper just so happens to come across the red rocket so he could save Dogmeat. Over hundreds of miles of wasteland he could have explored. He somehow knew exactly where to go to find Dogmeat and save him. And then we get possibly the most Borderlands scene of the entire show, where Lucy and Maximus finally catch up to the Squire. He shoots at...
By the way, I've also never played Borderlands, so he's using it as an insult. I don't know. I don't know what that means.
them and misses every fucking shot, which they just turn into a joke. Then he steps over a tripwire trap that shoots a crossbow bolt into his neck, and he lives. And this is the part where they imply, oh, he's turning into a ghoul, because now you can only kill ghouls by shooting them in the head. Not a retcon, though. And then the dude just hands over the head. Doesn't matter if Maximus tried to kill him multiple times. No, they're buddies now. And Maximus now decides he's gonna betray the Brotherhood for seemingly no reason. And so he gives Lucy the real head, and he takes a smashed up head back to them with no plan. And then we get the most...
Oh, wait, okay. Was that the reason why they were on the trial then? Was it because he had a fake head or something? Maybe? We'll see. Well, we'll see if he refreshes our mind.
Unintentionally funny moment in the show. Our two heroes kiss. I can't even fucking say it. I can't even get it out, guys. I'm losing my fucking mind. This could be my new reaction image every time I see propaganda. Okay, I've calmed down. And yeah, before I get banned, let's just wrap this up. Episode 7 actually ends with a scene involved.
Is it propaganda because it's like interracial marriage? I like how he's been like cucked out of being able to talk about interracial marriage. That is pretty funny because everybody was just laughing at him.
33, but like I said, we'll cover that whole subplot at the beginning of the next episode. All right, I will rate episode 6 and 7
like
as a pair.
I will say it does bring me like it does. I do think it's funny that like people like this are just like eternally molding because people are out there living their lives, loving who they want to love. I mean that does bring me some amount of happiness. I'm not even gonna lie.
They're pretty much linked in all their plots. I give
and there's
them
literally
a 5,
nothing that they
even
can do
though
about
they
it.
definitely still shit on the lore. These were probably the two most watchable episodes where you could just kind of turn your brain off and be vaguely entertained by what's going on. Again, still not good. I feel like people's standards for television are incredibly low that they would actually like this show, because these are probably the two best episodes and they're just mediocre at best. Okay, with episode 8, I will finally wrap back around to the Vault 33 subplot and briefly sum up everything that happens. Like I said, for a while, this was the most interesting part of the show. We get to see Big Schnoz slowly unravel the mystery of what the experiment was at this Tri-Vault system. We see that the residents of Vault 32 all killed each other years before the Raiders got to that vault. And of course, they sow the mystery of, okay, what did they figure out about Vault 31 that caused them to all kill each other? And so Big Schnoz does some digging. Despite being the manlet nerd chud guy, he actually has more courage than anyone else, which I actually really like that. He's probably the most likable character in the show. What I don't like is his cousin being a cuckold and raising another man's child. And the blonde chick is from Vault 31, so she's one of the traitor people. And speaking of which, Big Schnoz finds out that all of the people who were elected overseer in Vault 32 and 33 were from Vault 31. And I find this very interesting given the type of people who like this show think that the 2020 election was the most secure in history, you know, of course. But honestly, what I find...
What the What are we talking about anymore? Oh my god. Holy shit, this guy is fucking brain rotted with politics. Oh my god. Like, I couldn't even imagine. I couldn't even imagine. Like I just like, this is literally the people that like watch Dune, and they're like, oh my god, it's like they're like the Palestinians. The Fremen are just like the Palestinians. Oh my god.
Even more interesting was the chosen number of 33. Those of you who are into conspiracy theories will know that number is associated with Freemasons. And that was definitely intentional, as you'll see with the twist in Vault 31. So anyway, somehow all of Vault 32...
I don't know anything about that.
is seemingly cleaned up overnight, and residents of Vault...
I admittedly, I don't really ever look into conspiracies. I'm not gonna lie.
33 are to be moved back into 32 so that they can restore life to it, and the experiment in the vaults can continue. Eventually, Big Schnoz hacks into the Overseer's computer and tries to communicate with 31 and is let inside. And the big twist that we discover is that the Corpo guy, Bud Askin from the past, is now a brain on top of a Roomba. Are you fucking kidding me? This is Borderlands. This is not Fallout. This is Borderlands. Whatever. Anyway, so the
I
big
don't know what that
twist
means.
is that these vaults have not been operating.
You need to actually you need to actually describe like your thoughts and your opinions. You can't just like say Borderlands and pretend that everybody's going to know what you fucking mean. I also wanted to mention that the experiment is a eugenics program to create the perfect managers for the future. That legitimately sounds like satire, although the plan seems to fail, judging by the clearly dysgenic residents of Vault 33. This is the part where you call me racist. What is... I don't even know what that word means. Is he... I don't even know if I want to look this up. Of relating to or contributing to a degeneration or deterioration in the fitness and quality of a race or strain. What is he saying, that it's like because of race mixing that this happened? Okay.
For 200 years, they've been bringing people from the past out of
I mean, listen, I'm just gonna keep like the fact that people living their lives and being happy makes him this upset, and that there's literally nothing that he can do except mauled about it on the internet and get laughed at by the rest of the internet. That's very funny. That is very funny.
Cryostasis. Yes, this is another vault as cryogenic freezing. No, that wasn't just an experiment in Vault 111. No, apparently it's also in Vault 31. So Lucy's dad turns out to also be from the past. That's all the Vault 33 subplot was leading toward. What a fucking disappointment. Anyway, back to episode 8. We see Maximus getting interrogated by the Brotherhood of Steel. No, they don't bring up that he impersonated Knight Titus. That plot point, completely forgotten by the writer.
Well, they don't know that he impersonated Knight Titus, actually. I don't think, right? I'm trying to remember. Because when they found him, he wasn't, like, in the armor, because they had to abandon the armor. Right? I think that's technically true. So... I could be misremembering, though.
But they do discover it's the wrong head, obviously, and he's about to be executed, but then the she-man saves him by admitting that she placed the trap in her own boot. God, I hate this show. Anyway, so now we get to the big climax, where the Brotherhood of Steel flies over to Moldaver and her band of raiders / ex-NCR members. And the battle looks really fucking stupid. I know some of you are gonna think, oh, this is cool. Dude, there's a Brotherhood of Steel guy in power armor with no gun who just, like, slaps dudes and slams them into a table. It's fucking dumb, dude. And it only gets dumber.
Okay.
Because of course Cooper follows them all the way here, and he makes a comment about a fatal flaw with T-45 power armor, and he wonders if T-60 fixed the flaw. Of course it didn't. So he just shoots them all in the weak spot and kills them instantly. This show's so dumb, it's unreal. This is basically a Marvel movie. No, actually, that's an insult to Marvel movies. This is a DC movie climax.
Ooh,
but believe it or not, it actually gets worse because Lucy is also here, and she learns that her dad is the one who nuked Shady Sands. Okay. And they explain this with one final flashback where we get to see a meeting between all the executives of the mega corporations. They have their own Illuminati, essentially, right here. And of course, Cooper's wife represents Vault-Tec, and she suggests to everyone that they should nuke America first because they can make a profit off of the apocalypse. Guys, that might just be the dumbest plot point I have ever heard in...
I agree with this. I don't think it makes any sense. Like, unless I'm missing what they're saying, or I'm missing what some people think capitalism is or something. I just don't understand the notion that you're just going to cause the apocalypse because of capitalism and being greedy. Like, it should have it makes sense. Like, it would make sense if they just wanted to reshape America or something. But yeah, like, making it about capitalism, it just doesn't really make any sense.
Any television show. Communists literally do not understand basic economics, supply and demand. You're telling me you want to kill off 99.999% of your customer base, and you somehow think you're going to make a profit. They've established Vault-Tec is a $1 trillion company in this show. They don't explain what they sell. We might as well just say they're Amazon. That's honestly a better headcanon than anything else you could explain. They also retcon Mr. House and make him to be an idiot. He says that he's not even sure the bombs will drop, when in New Vegas, it's established he knew it would happen. That's why he set up defenses to shoot down nukes. That's why New Vegas is in such great condition compared to every other major city in the United States. So again, didn't do any basic fucking research, but it doesn't break canon though. It doesn't break canon though. And man, they make this
I don't know. That could be valid. I have no idea.
Black woman so cartoonishly evil. On top of wanting to genocide the human race, she straight up says to the other executives of these companies that you can have some vaults and run whatever experiments you want in them. And that's how they explain all the crazy shit that goes down in the vaults. Holy fuck. You can't defend this scene.
Wait, I mean, why is that specifically a bad line? Like, why is it bad that they would want to experiment on people? I mean, that specific thing isn't like that's not an example of bad writing. Like, at the end of the day, I mean, I fundamentally agree that, like, it is just weird. The whole criticism of capitalism, it does fall flat.
It's too stupid. It doesn't work on any level. It doesn't pass basic logic. Anyway, back to the present, we learn what Moldaver's grand plan was. The Enclave scientists stole the formula, code, whatever, the thing that activates cold fusion, giving the wasteland unlimited energy. So yes, she was a good guy all along. It also turns out she's a lesbian and was in love with Lucy's mom. And also she keeps her around as a ghoul, dude. This bitch is a psycho. So like I said before, Lucy's dad nuked Shady Sands because that would have been competition for Vault-Tec. Guys, I seriously can't take the show anymore. It was so painful to watch it up until this point. So whatever, let's wrap this up really quick. So Lucy's dad ends up escaping, gets the power armor. Moldaver is bleeding out. So our heroes decide to follow him out into the unknown. The Brotherhood of Steel obviously captures cold fusion, so now they have unlimited power on the West Coast. Nice plan, Moldaver. You really thought that one through, you fucking idiot bitch. And the show ends with Lucy's dad coming across Vegas, and it's dead. They killed Vegas too. I've seen some copium from people who weren't fucking paying attention, probably because they're bots, but you can clearly see the wall has been breached. The power is off. I guess after the events of New Vegas, the tunnelers overran everything and killed everybody, or maybe the Legion blew up Hoover Dam. Actually, I doubt the Legion will even get mentioned in Season 2 because they're too problematic. But yeah, they destroyed New Vegas, as if they didn't shit down the fans' throats hard enough. So yeah, is there any point to having a real conclusion? I'm sure this video already dragged on way too long. You know exactly what I think of it. If this was non-canon, it would just be mediocre slop that doesn't even make sense on its own. There's multiple major plot holes, extreme conveniences, and just plain old bad dialogue, bad writing, pro-communist propaganda that doesn't even make sense on a basic level. Some of the most diverse casting I have ever seen, and I believe there's 4.
I mean, here's the thing. I don't like when it comes to the whole idea that it like breaks canon from the games. He might be completely right about all of that. I don't know. I obviously was having trouble following like the timeline, just because I'm just not that familiar with the games. Like maybe he's right about all of that, and Shady Sands not coinciding with whatever happened with Shady Sands in the games. I don't know. But I mean, he just like and then I also agree. I agree with him when he talks about how like the overall like theme of like capitalism bad. It just doesn't make any sense in relation to the show. It's real, but then like a lot of his like a lot of this is just him like a lot of this is just him like describing things that happen in a sarcastic tone. It's like, okay, that's not criticism. Like, like you're just like describing what happened in the show. And then, yeah, it's just like the weird, like racism stuff is just like, it's like, yeah, like people are going to laugh at you because of that. Like you're a ridiculous person. Like, sorry. Like most people are just going to think that you're a ridiculous person.
Or interracial couples in this show as well. Not to mention Lucy is arguably a Mary Sue, and there's plenty of women in positions of power. They made a black woman not only like the lead executive of Vault Tech, but also a genocidal maniac. So were leftists the real racists all along?
Like, what are you even talking about? Like, how is... Like, that's just, like, true as well. Like, the fact that, like, there are good black people or bad black people sometimes, it's like, I don't think that this is just something that people are obsessive about. Unlike you people. Like, it's like, it's really funny, like, trying to see him rationalize in real time of, like, wait, but so some of the black people were good, and then other black people were bad. Brain can't compute. What could this mean? I don't understand the propaganda anymore. It's just like it's just we're just seeing brain rot in real time.
That's certainly worse than anything I would ever write. But really, the worst thing of all is that it just craps all over the original games. And if that doesn't bother you, then you're not a fan of Fallout, period. Ooh. The fact that there are a bunch of huge YouTubers shilling this show, including one guy famous for mentioning The Message, yet he never brings it up when talking about this show. I don't have to name him. You know exactly who it is. Completely sold out, dude.
I think he's talking about the Critical Drinker.
A lot of the people you thought were based, red-pilled, right-wing, whatever, no, they're just grifters. Before I end this video, I want to throw another shout-out toward the Archcast and Kretosis for being very critical of this show. Another shout-out to V for mentioning me in his video. And anybody else who proved that they have critical thinking skills and they're not being paid to shill a fucking Amazon show. Even if we don't see eye to eye politically on a lot of things, because I'm self-aware enough to know my views are pretty extreme, but the important thing is we all stand together in gatekeeping Fallout from the fucking normies who want to destroy everything because they don't give a flying fuck. They are completely mindless consumers. They do not care about the franchise, about the characters, about the lore, about the story, or even...
I mean, yeah, I don't. Like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for watching a show and just liking a show. But I mean, like, you can't you're not gonna be able to gatekeep anybody from anything. Like, I don't know what, like, nobody cares about your opinion. Like at the end of the day, like even if all of his criticisms about canon and stuff is like, maybe it's all accurate. At the end of the day, it's a good and entertaining show, and that's what most people are gonna care about at the end of the day. Like, that's the unfortunate truth of the matter. Is that nobody really cares that much about that kind of thing. All that really matters is whether or not the show is good. And the show is good. So, sorry.
The basic themes. You will never be a fan of Fallout if you like this show. That's about it. See you next time, guys.
He said it. He said it, guys. Oh, my bad, guys. I didn't realize that my camera froze. But, yeah, I mean, I think I pretty much wrapped up what my thoughts on the video. I actually agree with him about the capitalism stuff. I thought that was pretty goofy the way that the show handled it. And maybe he's right about some of the retcons and whatnot and the inconsistencies with the games. I'm just not familiar with the games. So he is right in that I just don't really care about that. At least as far as my current thing. And I'm never going to go back and play like the Fallout 1 and 2 because fucking old game is bad. Fuck you, bitch. But yeah, like a lot of his other criticisms of him just like sarcastically regurgitating what happened in an episode in a sarcastic tone without giving a good reason as to why it's bad. Like a lot of that was cringe, and I felt like that was like 70% of the fucking video. Obviously it's funny that that interracial couples happen and that there's nothing that he can do about it except being eternally mad online. That's obviously very funny. And yeah, like at the end of the day, the show is good. People enjoy it. Like, there's nothing that he can do about that. Like, it's really funny because at the beginning of the video, he's like, "Why do you care that people don't like it?" It's like, you're the one that cares that people do like it. Just to be clear, bro. Like, nobody even cares that you dislike the show. Most people are just laughing at you because you're like a pathetic racist. And it's fun, like it's funny to see you pathetically cry on the internet when there's nothing that you can ever do. People are going to love who they love, and there's literally nothing that you can do about it. That is just funny. So, we're going to continue laughing at you. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. I actually really want to hear from Fallout fans, because maybe he's right about all of the inconsistencies and retcons and blah, 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 blah. But something like, because I will say, though, it was really funny starting to play Fallout 3, and there were just immediately, it was like immediately very diverse. Like because part of me, I don't know, maybe he is completely right about all the game lore and whatnot, but it was just very funny to me that immediately playing Fallout 3 and seeing like how diverse the game is, it's like, oh, why were you complaining about this? Like, it's incredibly diverse right from Fallout 3. But anyways, let me know what you think about the video in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.